Cooper, that's not very polite to jump up on me. This is Cooper, who is how old is he again?
About 2 and 4 months.
Almost about 2.5-year-old German Shorthair Pointer. I call this a professional dog breed. Most people do not have the lifestyle for him. In this video, I'm going to go over how you can teach your dog to stay to help it, because Cooper suffers from something a lot of dogs do, separation anxiety. Separation anxiety, it's important to understand, is essentially a panic attack. And so if your dog is peeing or pooping in the house, chewing things up, it's not doing it intentionally. It's losing control of its bowels, and that's why it pees or poops. If it's destroying the kennel, it's trying to escape to come and find you. If it's chewing the area around your door, it's coming to try to break through it to come and find you. Now, in my capacity, I find that dogs either have to be with someone or with one specific person. And so we don't know which one, it doesn't really matter either one, but just understanding that sometimes people get confused where it doesn't have separation when I'm here, well, then you might be the person you need to be around. So basically, separation anxiety is due to the dog having a lack of practice of being alone. They're home with us, and then we have to go to work, and we put them in a kennel, or we leave them at home, and we go to work, and we're like, now we went from 100% access to you to 0. The guardian mentions anytime he walks around the house, if he's gone for longer, or really anywhere, Cooper is following him around. So again, and this is the great thing about having a dog that really loves you, is they always want to be with you, but they're more susceptible to separation anxiety. So a couple things you want to do. First of all is upping the exercise for a dog that has separation anxiety. We talked about that off camera, but these guys need probably 2 to 3 hours worth of exercise a day, sprinkled in shorter bursts throughout the day. So I recommended throwing treats up and down the stairs, playing games of fetch, having him chase the laser. Some dogs shouldn't chase the laser. He's okay. Cooper. Another one is my favorite thing to do is dog skiing, where you put the dog on a special kind of harness, and you got a rollerblades or skateboard, and have the dog pull you for several miles. It's a lot of fun, and it's a great way to burn the dog's energy. So basically, the dogs usually recognize when we have separation. I'm going to go through the separation anxiety part first, and then we'll go over how to teach your dog to stay. So a lot of times the dog recognizes that we're about to leave because we go through a departure ritual. We're not even aware of the fact that we're doing it. We sit in a certain spot on the couch, we put a certain type of clothing on or a uniform, we put our shoes on a certain place, we grab our keys, we grab our sunglasses, we grab this, we grab that. And so the dog starts seeing that combination of things always occurs right before he's about to abandon me. So the dogs often don't like and start getting worked up and animated. By the time you actually leave, they're already breathing heavy and working out or freaking out. So what you want to do is maybe have one of you record the other one as you're getting ready for work. And then, Cooper, so you get to recognize, okay, before I go to work, I always sit here, I always do this, I always do that. So what you want to do is practice going through all the individual steps. So for a lot of dogs, this is one of the triggers. Because we only grab these when we're about to leave and get in the car, and usually the dog's not coming with us. So every once in a while, go over where your keys are, pick them up, put them in your pocket, walk to the door, turn around, walk back, drop your keys on the table, and sit down and watch TV. Go to the place where you put your shoes on. Sit down, put your shoes on, suit up, walk to the door, turn around, and walk away. Sometimes you'll end up going through the door, sometimes you just put them on. You just kind of want to mess with the dog a little bit so that we're breaking the association. We call this desensitization. So we want the dog to understand, just because I pick up my keys doesn't mean we're always leaving. Okay, so find out what all your dog's triggers are that get it worked up before you actually leave. Now, dogs with separation anxiety have 100% access to us, and then when we leave, it goes down to 0. I found one of the best ways to help a dog with separation anxiety is to teach it to stay, so I can make it stay in the bedroom when I come out here and watch a little TV. Now, the best way to do this is a practical application. So at first what I would do is when you're going to get a drink of water, once we get to the point where distance, which is the second step, stay, go get a drink of water, come back, and then release him. Now, most people actually teach their dog a wait command when they think they're teaching a stay. Wait means wait temporarily until you hear the next command. Stay means stay until you hear a release word, and only a release word. Cooper, I say release, break, freedom, and parole. I like using fun command words. I have 4 dogs. Each dog has its own unique command word. Cooper, do you have any thoughts on what you want your release word to be? Some people say holiday, break, freedom. Like I said, I say parole and the rest of those. You could say X or blue. It doesn't matter, but I like to use something that's going to make people laugh. If you say typically
Jabroni.
when I say parole, people typically laugh. They understand what that is, or holiday, or freedom, or adventure.
Say freedom.
And you can change it later. Right now, we'll use freedom.
Okay.
All right. So what I'm going to do first is when you teach your dog to stay, sit. You want to teach it for the sit, for the 3 Ds. And right there, anytime you give your dog a treat, the treat should go in the command dog's word first. Then they should in the mouth first. Then they should go to the command word and only the command word after. Not good sit. Cooper. Yes, I know that. I thought that might get you. So the 3 Ds for stay. First for duration. Can the dog stay for up to 5 minutes this close? Moving away makes it twice as hard. Coop. So we want to keep on practicing. For a lot of dogs, not doing anything is so hard that with my dog, I had to spend 2 weeks of doing 1 second stays. When we get to second 2, you start to roll over or offer a bit of paw or bark or do other things. So the first thing we're going to do is get the dog to achieve 5 minutes by gradually, progressively. Cooper, Coop. Yeah, don't let him grab that if you can. So we're going to do this in short intervals. Maybe like up to, eventually you're going to get to the 5-minute mark. He's got reflections now. Eventually he gets to the 5-minute mark and you'll have practice sessions that'll be up to 5 minutes. But at first you want to keep it relatively short. Cooper. So I'm going to show you first for duration, and then we'll talk about distance and distractions here in a second. You are very distracted. There we go. Sit. Cooper, sit. So I put him in going to sit. I'm going to use my treat, treat from this hand. So I'm going to say stay, pull the back of my chest, count 1, 2, 3, and then up. Yeah, I haven't talked about that. Yeah, no, you're way too excited. Sit, stay. Now, before you do this, that was really poor because he was so excited. So before you do this, exercise him, give him 5 appropriately. So he has enough energy where he's not too depleted to listen, but he's not going bad stuff crazy. You want to find that Goldilocks zone. So once you find the appropriate amount of exercise, give him 5 to 10 minutes so he stops breathing heavy. Then you would do this. Coop, come here, come here. Come here. You're tracking because the lights. Yes. All right. Sit. Sit. Stay. 1, 2. Stay. Now I'm going to do 4 seconds. Up. Sit. Again, lack of impulse control. Stay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Coop. Stay. So when I'm doing it, I'm almost like my hands are handcuffed together. So I say stay to begin the process, and this is a bookend. This is the first part of the bookend. Stay, then I pull it back to my chest, count to whatever the interval is. When I deliver the treat, I want to give the hand signal and deliver the treat from this hand, so I go like this simultaneously. That's the end of the bookend. Then I have a choice. Do I practice another repetition, or do I release the exercise? Cooper, come here. Now this is not, we're a long video, so I'm going to continue mustering through. If he gets distracted with light reflections, which he was, why he's like this right now, stop. You will get frustrated doing this, and if he remembers the last time you did this, you were frustrated, he will not want to do it again. So I'm going to do basically 1, 2, 3 second stays, then I'm going to drop the treat and show you how to do the release. Cooper, buddy, sit, sit, stay, 1, sit, stay, 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 stay. 2 seconds. Stay. So again, really poor, and it's not his fault because he doesn't know any better. But we don't have time in this session to exercise him and all the stuff we need to do. So I'm just going to pantomime explain since he's not cooperating. But it's a good lesson that you don't want to practice this when he's like this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say stay. As I stop sign halfway distance between me and him, say stay, pull your hand back to your chest, count to wherever it's at. And if he's like this, you might have to do several 1 second stays in a row, 5 or 6 of them. I'll do 1 and then I'll do a release just to show you. Coop. Your energy's better now. Sit, stay, and I count in my head 1, 2, 3, 4, up, sit, I push too far. Do that again. Stay, 1, 2, stay, and I'm done. Release. So maybe I was going to practice 5 of these sides. Stay, 1, stay, 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 and I'm counting in my head. Make sure you always count in your head. If he ever auto-releases, which is what he's been doing, when you go to 3 and he gets up at 4, you need to know what number you were at that he broke so you can go back and practice the number before that. So the important thing for stay, and I should have been iterating this throughout this whole video, the most important thing is 100% success rate. Everybody pushes too far, too fast, and then, Cooper, and then your dog is practicing releasing itself. That's not a stay. So the idea is, and again, if you have to spend a week doing 1 second stays, that's okay, and then go to 2 seconds. You want to build on success. Once you get to the point where you can have a 5-minute stay, then we're ready to go for the next step. But a couple things. Number one, when you're looking at it, when you're doing it, don't stare at him the whole time. If you do, as soon as you turn your eyes, he'll auto-release. So at first you're saying stay, and you want his focus, but eventually you would say stay, check in with him, look around, check in, and then stay. So we don't want to, he doesn't have to maintain eye contact. The other thing is, you saw he was all over the place. The book says as long as they stay in the location, it's okay. I prefer to have the dog, if I put him in a sit stay, he stays in a sit stay. If you notice that he always lays down during the stay, then just start with him in laying down position. So start with whatever he prefers and work your way up to the 5-minute stay. Once you can get to that 5-minute stay, which should take about a week to a couple weeks, depending on how many times you practice, I would recommend, there's 2 of you in the house, I would recommend that each one of you guys practices with him about 3 or more times a day. He has separation anxiety. It's stressful for the guardians because they can't leave. They've got to arrange to have somebody here. The more you practice this, the faster you're going to get to where you're going to go. That's demand barking. We're not going to correct that. If we do, then that's rewarding. It's going to cause him to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ignore, or maybe I can redirect him by throwing something over there. I didn't get even one of them in there. There we go. So then we're redirecting his attention. Now, don't ever give a dog a treat for barking because that will make him bark more. All right, once I can get, and I gotta get off my knees and my legs are gonna fall asleep. All right, so once I get to the point where I'm at a 5-minute stay right here, and don't just practice it here. Practice it here, there, up there, in your bedrooms, all over the place. Dogs don't generalize well. They need to practice things in different situations. Once the dog can actually stay for up to 5 minutes, and you've done that 5 times in a row. So if stay, and the duration is 5 minutes, and then the next time you practice, you get a 5-minute stay with no auto releases. That's your indicator, and everybody cheats. So make sure you do that 5 separate stays, and don't do it in a row. Stay, 5 minutes, release, and then go do your own thing, come back and do it again. Now, one last little thing on this. Every time, if you practice 5 stays, you would say stay, stay, and do that 5 times, and at the end, you throw the treat at the very end, we're done with the exercise. Make sure you throw it at least 1 or 2 feet away, so he has to move at least 1 step away, and say the word release after it goes into his mouth. That's the first stage. First D, I should say, stay for duration. Now I'm going to stand up because it's easier for me because at this point, there we go. We're going to be moving around. So I got a good cameraman. He works with Warner Brothers. He's a jack of all trades. All right, so the next stage is, let's say that this corner represents the dog. At this point, because we've achieved a 5-minute stay, this part will be easier. If he really struggles with this, it's because you didn't achieve the 5-minute stay. Go ahead and get it adjusted.
There we go.
All right. I got a new gizmo. It's a smooth mobile. It's a pretty cool steady cam, but it takes a little bit of practice. All right, so the next stage is I'm going to say stay. Halfway distance between me and the dog is where I stop my hand. So I say stay, bring it back to my chest. I'm going to take 1 step backwards. I'm going to count 1, 2. Then I'm going to go back and then say stay. So again, that's the bookend. That was 1 repetition. Now, this is my starting point. If I take 1 step backwards, I count to 2. Cooper. Sit. Let's not get in my bag of tricks. I have 1 more session today, and that dog needs some of those treats too. So basically, I start off, we're taking 1 step back, and I double it. Actually, Coop, let's do this. We'll use the camel temporarily. There we go. I'm just going to come back over here. There we go. Joystick, there we go. All right. Yeah, you're going to have to stay there, buddy. All right. So this might not be a good idea if it does a lot of things. Yes. Sit. So when you're, a little sidebar for this is we're adjusting the camera. If you go and tell him to sit and he doesn't sit, just wait here. If he barks like crazy, wait for him. And as soon as he sits, then open the door. And I'm going to say it again because he's new at this, but normally I'd say it once and just wait. And the only thing will open the door is to sit. Sit. There we go. All right. So the next stage is, again, we're going to add is we're at distance. So I say stay, pull my hand back, and I take however many steps back. And again, my starting point is if I take 1 step back, I count to 2. If I take 2 steps back, I count to 4. I double it in length. But that's just an arbitrary beginning. It's going to be based on how well the dog does it. Eventually, we want to get to the point where you're at least 15 feet away. The dog is staying there. And again, don't maintain eye contact the whole time. Now, I'm going to actually use it with this. So let's say we're saying stay, and yeah, let's go over to me. So let's say I don't have steps. This would not be ideal. But let's say I say stay, and I back up, and this is about 15 feet. The dog is there, so he can see me here. And then I'm going to go back to him and do this, give him the treat and the reward. And remember, always deliver the reward with two hands like they're handcuffed together. So when I first step out of the line of sight, that's what I'm going to do. So when I step to the side, he couldn't see me. That's a big step. It's hard for a lot of dogs to do. So when I did it, I went like this. I didn't pause. I just was out of sight for 1 second, and I came back and immediately gave him the treat. Then you're actually going to start elongating that. Then you're outside for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. I don't see one here, but you guys, everybody has a security camera these days. Sometimes having a security camera lets you watch on your iPad around the corner, or you can have somebody checking. Maybe every time if you cough, that means he auto-released. So again, 100% success rate. Eventually, you want to get to the point at this stage. This is when you can start actually using it. So you're watching TV. It's direct TV. And you basically say, stay, get up and go get a drink of water, come back, and then release. Stay, go make a sandwich, come back and release. Stay, go change your clothes, come back and release. So the idea is to help him practice staying while you're just moving around the place. So now we're helping him practice somewhere in between that 0 to 100% of the stay. And Cooper, after a while, you can actually have the dog stay for longer and longer periods of time. The book says once a dog can achieve 2 hours, you never have to practice beyond that. Most people don't have to practice up to 2 hours. But the idea would be, Cooper, would be to practice this. Here, buddy. Sit. Come. Would be to practice this until you get to the point where you can like put him in a stay in your bedroom and come back here and watch a half an hour or an hour TV program, and he stays there the whole time. Now, when you're leaving, you're not going to actually tell him to stay, and then when you leave, because then he's going to eventually auto-release. All we're doing this for is to help him practice and gain confidence about being able to be separate and apart from you without, Cooper, come here, without freaking out. Now, the last D is to stay for distractions. Now, that's really hard for most dogs. And so but if you do this right, where first you do duration, then you do distance, by the time you get to distractions, he should be able to do it. Now, distraction would be as easy as just making him stay right here and opening that window. So he can hear people walking by on the street, but he can't go get them, and that's helping him practice a little self-restraint and self-control. Now, the stay, like I said, it's got to be 100% success rate. Cooper, puppy. And it will help, that control, sit, will help with a lot of his issues. He doesn't have impulse control like right here. Going after light sources, reflections, dogs on the street, people walking by, sounds. He's reacting to everything. Helping shrink his world through the rules and structure we talked about, and then helping him develop self-control by practicing exercises like this is a great way to help him develop more self-control and have that practice of being alone. And if we couple it with the things we started at the beginning of this video, helping him practice desensitizing him from all the triggers, Cooper, one more time, then we're kind of setting him up for success. Cooper, sit. Cooper. This is Cooper with very little impulse control now, but soon to be, that's going to be the coming soon, to use the movie motif. Sit. How about we come over here and give you a good camera presence so people can see who you are. There we go. This is my buddy Cooper, and these are some tips and tricks to help dogs that have separation anxiety, as well as how to use the stay command to help your dog practice being alone.